Hello everybody, this is Michelle Fox and welcome back to the Simple Quilter. Today I'm going to be sharing some tips with you on pressing your quilt seams. Okay, so I'm going to step aside so you can see these two wall hangings. And again, I have made videos on each of these and I will list a link to those videos in the description above. And Now the first tip I want to share with you is, number one, read your instruction manual that comes with your iron. Now you may be like, oh boy, why do I need to do that? Well, this is why you need to do that. The instruction manual tells you important things you need to know about the operation of your iron. And when you're ironing, you certainly want to be sure that your iron is working properly. Number two is set your seams. Now, we set the seams to flatten out the seam before we press it open. To set your seam, you use a hot iron and steam to relax the fibers, and it pushes the thread that you've used to sew the two pieces together down into the fabric, and it just helps flatten it all so that it's flat before you ever press it open. Now, I've sewn two pieces of fabric together, and I'm just going to show you how you set your seams. You just lay the fabric on one side, and you're just going to place the iron down, leave it, and then up, down, leave it, and then up. And I do use steam, and of course it's on a cotton setting. Again, straight up and down, you hold it for several seconds, move it, now that seam is nice and flat and is ready then to be pressed open. Now, when you are pressing your quilt blocks, you want to be sure that you are pressing them and not ironing. Pressing is an up and down motion. Down, up, down. It is not this. This is ironing. Number four is to press along the grain of the fabric and don't ever go this way. Okay, so if you're going to iron a large piece of fabric, you want to be sure you are ironing from the selvage to selvage or across the length of the fabric. You need to avoid circular sweeping motions like that or like this, because those circular motions are what stretch fabric. So I'm just going to demonstrate here how to press your seams. Alright, so I've set the seam, and this is a strip set, and I like to press to the dark side if I can. Sometimes you can't always press to the dark side. And what I like to do, I like to gently open it up and finger press just a little bit. I'm not really tugging and pulling. I'm just doing a light little finger press there. Then I'm just going to take my iron and I'm going to set it on the fabric. Same here. And I do prefer to use steam. You can also use a mister, and I do like to mist the fabric, and I mist it lightly. I do not soak the fabric. And then again, it's just a press, just up and down to get that seam as flat as you can. Now, tip number 5, and that is to be sure you have a good hot iron, an iron that gets really, really hot. Now, I use a Chai titanium ceramic 1700 watt iron, and I'll put a link in the description below for that also. Now, tip number 6, I just want to show you some different products you can use to assist you with getting flatter seams. The first tip is to use a wool ironing mat. This is 100% wool, and you can use it to help your seams be flatter. And again, I'll put a link in the description below for the wool mat. The next product I wanted to show you is a quilter's clapper. Now, these were originally made as tailor's clappers. And what they do, this is a very hard wood. These are typically made out of maple. It's very, very hard wood. And there's a process. You can't just go and get a piece of maple out of your garage and do it. These are processed. But anyway, a tailor's clapper is put on the seam following pressing, and it traps the steam. So in order to use the clappers don't really work well on dry irons because these are used to capture the steam. So I have my iron set on steam. I press it, and then I just put the clapper on top of it. Now the clapper is trapping that steam in there, and it is further flattening that seam. And I do believe these really work. I feel like the seams get a lot flatter using the wooden clappers. The next product I wanted to share with you is a starch alternative, and this is Best Press. And you just simply spray this on. Now, I'm not going to use Best Press on my wool mat. So what you'll want to do when you use the Best Press is to shake it really good and spray it on lightly. This is not something you want to saturate your fabric with. It's just a light mist. And if you put too much on and you don't give it a chance to dry a little bit, it's going to gum up your iron. And then you're just going to do the up and down motion and pressing that seam. And then there you have it. Wow, this seam is really getting flat. And then also you can use just regular starch. The only time I really like to use the spray starch is when I've had to pre-wash a fabric, and then I will starch it heavily, let it dry, and then press it. But those are all products that can help you get your seams flatter. The next thing I want to show you is how to press a half square triangle. This I press a little bit different than I do the strip sets, and I do use a tiny bit of ironing with this technique. So what I do is I just first set my seams. My iron is set on a cotton setting, and I have the steam on. Okay. Then I'm just going to open this up again. I like to press to the dark side. Whew, that is very hot. Just going to finger press slightly. And with this, I'm going to iron straight up. And then straight across. And then I'm going to lift it up and I'm going to press the seam right there. Then I like to use the clapper, so I'm going to put the clapper right on top of it. So in the instructions on your iron, it will tell you not to iron in circular motions. And that's because then you are measuring across the bias of the fabric, and that's how fabric gets stretched. So strictly up and down. You don't want to go out this way. That is what is going to stretch your fabric, because here's the bias and you're going to be moving straight across the bias. So here we're going across the straight grain there, across the straight grain here, going to lift it up, and then you're going to press it down. And then I like to use the clapper. So I hope those tips will help you in improving your pressing techniques and therefore improving the accuracy of your blocks. If you've enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, share with a friend, and as always, leave a comment. I love to get the comments and I try to reply to each and every one. So until next time, have fun quilting.